Alright, I decided that I can open up this cover right here and just see what kind of physical damage I can see, if any, to the servo mechanism. So there's a screw up here, and there's one here and one here. The tiny little Allen screws are. This top one was really tight, the other two weren't. I wonder if this top one gets more exposed to the elements. You know, if you're out late at night or early in the morning and you get some mist on there, or morning dew or whatever. Okay, so looking like I gotta take this tensioning knob off. So this has got some glue that keeps it attached to this. This isn't supposed to come off of this, but that's just glued on, so that's no big deal. But that might be another indicator of the kind of beating this thing took. All right, so we've got a. Oh, that's nice. That's a metal gear in there. We ain't fooling around. The light right here is the worst light in the shop. So it's a worm drive. I see some grease in there. I see a little circuit board here. Little itty bitty DC motor in this thing. Hey, I think we know what year this scope is. Got a sticker here. It says 060898 TT. I'm guessing that's a date. June 8th of 1998 is what I'm guessing. Okay, so it looks to me like whatever's broken, if anything, is inside this box. Now with a close-up you can really see how bent this shaft is. See? Well, it's the next day of me shooting this video, and last night I did a little bit more research, and I actually reached out and was able to contact the individual who had initially offered me $500 for the mount here on this thing. And well, lo and behold, apparently his financial situation has changed, so he said that he would no longer be in contention for this mount. But he did say that he might be contacting me if I still have it down the road for the electronics and the base here. So he recommended that I go on cloudynights.com, which is an astronomy enthusiast website, and that there's a classified section on there, and he said that I should do some research on there to get an idea of the value of these things, these parts, and then post on there. So I joined that site last night. You have to wait 30 days before you can post a classified, but you can search classifieds right away. And I was able to find out some interesting things. Apparently these mounts are a little hard to come by. It appears like the mounts that I did see for the Classic, a lot of them were for smaller ones, for the 8 and 10 inch. I'm just going to verify right now, but I am almost positive that I was correct on my assumption that this is a 12 inch. I don't know why I own, like, you know, probably a dozen tape measures, and it seems like every time I turn around I can't find one. Okay, so looks like maybe I was wrong. The overall dimension of this outer ring right here is, well, it looks like 10 and 5/8. So I think the 10 inch number refers to the size of the exposed glass on the front here, which looks like it's measuring out to be 10 inch. So it looks like I've got a 10 inch model here. It does say F equals 2500 mm, so that must be the focal length is 250 millimeter. Oh, and it does say D. D is 254 millimeters. So if we put 254 millimeters, that's 10 inch. All right, well that was easy. So this is a 10 inch optical tube. So what I was able to see online was that there are plenty of people who have sold these mounts in the past, and the couple of examples that I saw were people who had the working mount with the remote control and the power supply and selling them for $300, and they sold pretty quickly. So that seems like that's probably about the right amount of money. But I don't have the remote control, I don't have the power supply, and I can't verify if this is in fact even working. So it's worth less than that. But it does appear that if I part this out, I can get more money for it. If I take the declination motor out of here, this assembly right here, if I take this out, even in the condition it's in, I might still be able to get like $50 for that. Hard to say for sure. So since I'm going to be able to probably be parting this out anyways. Oh, the other thing I learned too, which I kind of realized when I was looking underneath here, there's screws. You could take these arms off in two pieces, which I didn't realize. So instead of having this big fork-shaped piece that you have to ship, you could take it into two pieces, and you could probably bubble wrap them and lay them against each other, and you could probably get that box, that shipping carton, down to a much more manageable size. So what I'm going to do, since I'm taking this apart anyways, is I'm going to attempt to remove the optical tube, which of course I have absolutely no idea how to do. But if I had to venture a guess, I would say that if we put this on its side and take one arm off, probably can do it that way. Oops, careful. Okay, that doesn't seem to be the way. Alright, so I'm thinking this part right here is actually part of the mount and stays behind with that. It doesn't go with the tube. So I'm thinking I gotta take this. Maybe not. Aha. Okay, so if I unscrew this, remove this disc, now because I already unscrewed that other arm from this, I can take this whole assembly off this side, which apparently consists of the electronic base and the left-hand fork. And there's this doohickey here. There's like a plastic type of bearing. Put this back on. That gear is going to have to come off. I think I'm going to take this mount off. There you go. We don't have to break that. Alright, I want to roll this over on its side, and I don't want to damage this. Even if I take this off, I might still damage something over here. So I think if I take these three screws out, I can take this, I already loosened them, and it looks like that whole thing comes right off of there. So that's what I'm going to do. There's three screws holding this on, and this one's a different size than the other two. The only difference is this one threads into the body of the tube itself, and this one, these two thread into the ring at the top. So But I mean, I just don't know why they would need to make those 3 different sizes. 2 different sizes, those 3 screws, 2 different sizes. Alright, so now, with the finder scope mount, or, did I get that wrong already? I forgot. See, I learned that last night and I already forgot. With that mount off and this off, I can now roll this puppy up on its side, like so, and see if we can't figure out how. See that whole, this whole arm feels like it wants to come off, except for one problem. This gear's in the way. Oh, that's interesting. That's just like a spacer that's keyed to this by 2 pins. Aha! I honestly can't tell if that gear right there is supposed to be coming up off of that right now. No, it probably shouldn't, right? Well, I don't know. These 2 screws right here are really tight. I got a feeling that they might put some thread lock on those screws before they put those in, so they won't loosen up. So instead, I'm going to take off these 3 screws like I did on the other side and just remove this whole bracket with the with this piece. Well, I wonder what the heck all of these screws do. Alright, there's a whole perimeter of screws here. I think I'll take those out. Get this glass out of the front. This is dented in really bad right here, so it's kind of make it hard to get to that one screw. Whenever working on a precision optical instrument, you should always have a good sturdy pair of channel locks handy. That is thick metal. The amount of force that must have been involved, I'm beginning to wonder whether or not something else didn't happen to this thing. Maybe it didn't just fall off a tripod. Maybe somebody backed over this with a vehicle. You know, had it down behind the vehicle, meaning that they were going to put it away, totally forgot they hadn't put it away, got distracted, got in their vehicle, went to back out of a parking space at night. All right. This is just a plastic ring. I don't know if it, I don't know if that has any value. Because there's a hole here where the glass is missing, I can reach in and grab this to kind of pull outward on it, but the broken pieces are just doing this. It's gonna fall apart in a big mess, I'm afraid. That is some thick glass. You know how thick that is? Alright, this piece isn't broken, so it has enough of an arc left of the circle so that it's actually kind of around that. So the only way to get this off of this piece is to take these 3 screws off and remove this cap, which I will do because apparently there may be some value to this mirror inside here. Dirty, but it doesn't appear to be damaged. This I'm going to throw right in the trash before it breaks into more pieces. Oops. Well, I just did that wrong apparently. That wasn't good. I guessed wrong on how this attaches to this. Oh, it just unscrews. Oh, you dummy. One of these little lint-free cloths right here. Just gonna see if this cleans up. There is something on the glass here. I can't see what it is. Now it's going away. There's probably a very precise way you're supposed to clean this and handle it, so. Yeah, it's a mirror basically. It's a mirror. It's a convex mirror, but it's very slightly convex. Oh, so just learned something else. Interesting. There is a pin in the middle here. And this mirror floats on that pin. And then by having the 3 equidistant spaced screws in there, and by adjusting how far in each screw is in relationship to the 2 others, you basically are able to tilt this mirror on that central axis. That is some sort of an alignment. I think I read somewhere about a procedure called collimating. I wonder if this is how you collimate this. Bit of ancient history for me. Many moons ago when I was in the military, we had an anti-tank weapon called a TOW, tube-launched optically tracked wire-guided missile, TOW, anti-tank missile. Shot out of a tube, had a wire attached to the back of it. Literally, as it flew downfield towards its target, the wire was just, being spooled out of the tube at a high rate of speed. The other end of the wire was hooked to a computer. Okay, and that computer was guiding the missile, and it was getting its information from a optical sight. So all you had to do was keep the crosshairs on the target as the target was moving, and the missile would fly to the target. It's pretty amazing. We had a night vision sight for that unit. And the night vision sight for the unit, if this was the optical unit, if this was the main sight, the night vision sight basically could be bolted onto the top, taken off easily for when you're not using it, bolted onto the top, and it was electrically independent of the main sight. But what you had to do was you had to collimate that sight to the optical sight. So you had a special device that hooked up to the front, it hooked onto the whole front of the main sight, and gave you a target to look at right in front of the infrared sight. And essentially what you were doing was you were perfectly aligning that infrared sight with the main sight, if that makes sense. So if you had an imaginary line going through the central axis of this, and you had a central line going through the central axis of the night sight, the night vision sight on the top, collimating the sight essentially made those 2 lines, imaginary lines, parallel. Pretty cool. So I think collimating on this telescope probably means aligning this mirror so that all of the light that comes through that top of the tube and bounces off of that mirror in the bottom comes back up and hits this mirror, and then by adjusting these 3 screws, you're probably making sure that all of that light that comes off of this mirror is then reflected straight up through the central axis, so that it will hit the prism and go right through the center axis of the eyepiece. Well, who cares? I can't get how, I don't know how this is made, but these screws I took out all on this perimeter here, they don't seem to be doing much as far as like unlocking the mysteries of how that's going to come out of there. So the question is, can I just take this mirror out this way? Okay, there is a ring. Oh, I see. All right. So there's a lot of dust and crap that's falling in there now, but okay, so if we look down in here, this is that central tube that all of that light has to shoot straight through to get to the eyepiece eventually. At the very top of this central tube, there is a groove with a snap ring in it that is not very hard to take out. Once that snap ring is removed, I can then grab the outer tube, which slides on the inner tube. The outer tube has the mirror attached to it. Okay, now this is going to be like that game Operation. I now have to try and get this to come out the top without banging it on anything. Oh, and guess what? It won't fit. Oh, you stinker. Alright, back on you go. Well, that's a tightly machined fit. This ridge right here, this diameter inside here is smaller than the diameter of that mirror. So the only way that mirror is coming out, the front here, is if this ring comes off, which is what I thought was supposed to happen, but I can't seem to get it to budge. Either that or this back ring the whole base has to come off, but this seems equally tight and doesn't want to come off. So yeah, if I'm going to abuse something, I think I'm going to abuse this end, because this is the end that's got the big dent in it anyways. Alright, some of you may not want to watch this. Remember, you've been warned. It's just barely moving. I can see a little line here, so it does look like it did move, but boy, that thing is really on there tight. Same way. I wonder if this is not made to be ever taken apart. So I was about to get medieval on this thing. I had the ball peen hammer at the right. All right. So I was looking at this thing, and it occurred to me there are two notches right here and here. And I was like, oh, So sure enough, once you remove that snap ring, you can pull this outer tube with the mirror up. So it disengages that tube. Then rotate it so that it lines up with the two slots, and voila. Now my understanding is that this essentially is useless as a replacement part, having something to do with the fact that this is precision made to that optical tube assembly, or OTA. There's all kinds of numbers on the back here. Here's another date, 6/1998. That corresponds with the same year that I saw on the declination motor assembly, the declination assembly, so I would say that, again, this is a 1998 model. But I guess there are potentially other uses for this type of a mirror. That is grease, that is not blood. So yeah, I don't know. This must be what the focus adjustment part that's broken off the back of mine, or is completely missing, must engage with to move the mirror in and out. I'm going to put it down like this because there's grease all over the back of this. I'm making a mess on the bench. Well, this is interesting. Didn't realize this until just now. This appears to be all aluminum. I mean, I knew it was metal. I thought maybe because I could see from the threading where the screws threaded in that maybe these end pieces were aluminum, but apparently the whole tube and everything, this is all aluminum. And there's a few pounds of it here, so I might just get a few bucks scrap out of that. In fact, I've got some aluminum scrap that I'm going to be turning in, and I'm going to turn this into the bucket that I deliver the scrap to the scrapyard in. That ought to really make somebody out there crazy. That ought to get somebody going. I guess maybe I should take this handle off. This might be like the last salvageable part off of this. Maybe somebody could use this handle. I don't know.